So welcome to SB405D Project Management. My name is Felicia Frida Aidan Aqua, and I'll be taking you through this unit 2, Project Cost and Procurement Management. We're going to base our discussion today on Session 5, Project Procurement Management. By the end of this session, you should be able to explain project procurement management and explain the project procurement process as well. So project procurement management is actually looking at all the processes we actually undertake for us to be able to, one, acquire the goods and services from different sources or providers, for us to be able to achieve the goal we want to achieve for every project. Now, every project we're going to work with, we need resources. Now, these resources, we need to get it from people or from suppliers or from, we need to get our input from somewhere. And so we need to then look out for where do we even get these ones, looking at the cost and benefits as well. And so when we're looking at procurement, project procurement, it is an integral part of the project management, which products and services are obtained or are purchased from outside the existing project organization in order for us to be able to achieve our project. So the equipment and all those resources we made mention of, we need to get them from somewhere. And it could be one source, it could be single sourcing, it could be multiple sourcing, and all those issues come in as well. So when we're looking at project procurement, then we are actually looking at the method used by the organization for us to establish a formal business relationship with our organization's purchasing department and external suppliers. For very well established firms, there may be a section or a department in charge of procurement or supply chain and procurement in there. For some organizations which are a bit smaller, it may be merged or fused under maybe the finance or accounting because they directly work with the money and all those things. It depends on the stature of the organization or how, shall I say, the size of the organization. Those are all going to inform who does these function or where these would actually fit in as well. So the relationship serves as a basis on which the organization can actually order, receive, review, and approve all procurement items which are necessary for the execution of the project. Obviously, we need to order for these things, get our invoices and see, then we're able to pay for it. Then we're able to receive this equipment and other things you're going to need. Then we can review and see, well, yes, it's helping us do what we want to do. It's not what we need. Let's take it back or let's keep it. And then it helps you approve all the other procurement items you need to be able to execute your project. So the process actually aims at ensuring there's timely delivery of all purchased items, which is selected and acquired according to the specifications and requirements set out by the purchasing department and approved by the project manager. This is very, very key. The purchasing department, you can't just go and buy things which the project manager has not approved of, because we made mention from the start that the project manager is very key for the overall performance of the project, and so he makes all the decisions and approvals or gives the authority for things to be done in the project. And so you can't just go outside your project manager and do what you want to do. And we're also making mention of timely delivery. If they need something from the word go and it is not there and it comes in late, it's all going to contribute to project delays. And we made mention that project delays actually increases our cost or affects our cost and other variables, including the scope and quality as well. And so this is very, very key if you're going to be able to even work on project cost. And so project procurement actually matters in getting us to be able to do the work. And it's about also getting the specifications and requirements. If they tell you they need this category or this particular grade of concrete or cement blocks, and then you go and bring some cheap cement blocks, obviously you're going to compromise on the quality of the project. And so these are very interrelated, and then you need to be very careful how you are handling these as well. So when we're going into procurement, obviously we need to also plan for our procurement. We need to identify what the project needs first and foremost. because if we don't know what we need for the project, how do we know the resources we need to order and then receive and then use it in the project? So we need to first be able to identify the needs of the procurement to meet which can best be met by procuring products or services outside the organization. So this involves considering whether to procure, number one, how to procure, number two, number three is what to procure, number four, how much to procure, and then when to procure. Yes, so should we procure, say, let's say you need a machine or a laptop to work with your project. One, do you really need to procure that laptop? If yes, we need to ask ourselves, how do we procure it? Should we just go to online and then just order from AliExpress or Alibaba or Jumia or something? Or should we go to CompuGhana? Should we go to Francophone? Where should we go to for it? Then we need to ask ourselves what to procure. Are we going to just procure what type of laptop are we going to procure? Are you going to procure HP and Apple? What is that? Is it an Windows operating or is it Mac iOS operating? We need to ask ourselves, what do we want to procure? What is even the size or the specifications of the machine or the laptop we want to procure for the project? We need to ask ourselves, how much do we need to procure? Do we need just one laptop or we need 2 or 3 laptops? And even that, we need to even ask ourselves, what's our cost budget as well? And then we need to know when to procure it. Are you going to buy the laptop at the tail end of the project because the project manager wants to keep the laptop, or we're going to buy it from the start when we really need it for the planning process and even in the execution phase as well? And so these are key things you need to look out for, whether you should procure it, yes or no. There should be justifications for it. How to procure it? Are you going to even do single sourcing or not? Where are you going to even get it from? How much you need to procure? Do you need 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? And when to even procure it? That matters a lot as well. And so you must consider what products and the marketplace, from whom, under what terms and conditions. All of these things are things you'd have to consider when you're doing your project procurement planning. And so when the organization finally decides to buy, then we have considered the contract type to select, which is a fixed contract or cost reimbursement contract or the unit price contracts. Different types of contracts exist, and depending on what we are going for, then what we are going to use in there as well. So we need to plan first and foremost how we're going to actually solicit for these things we need in there. So this stage starts with the implementation of the procurement planning management and ends with the sending out of solicitory documents such as the request for proposals or the request for quotation and the invitation to tender for the potential suppliers. So project procurement documents are usually used to solicit for proposals from prospective sellers. So the term bid or quotation is generally used when the source selection decision will be price driven. That is when buying a commercial item, while the term proposal is used when non-financial considerations such as technical skills approaches are paramount, as when buying professional services. So you need to be careful of the terms you use. Yes, once you're learning project management, you can't just go out there and you are saying bid, quotation, proposals, just mixing it up in there. When we're talking about a bid or quotation, then there is a monetary factor which we are going to consider. It's supposed to be price driven. And so someone will come and bid, I'll give you this laptop, HP Pavilion, for 4,000 Ghana cedis. Someone will say that, no, I'll give you the same laptop. I'm going to give it to you at 3,800 cedis. Someone will say, no, I'm going to give it to you for 5,000 Ghana cedis. And so you realize that when it comes to the bid or quotation, it's about price driven. And then when we're looking at the proposal, then we're looking at more of technical competencies in there, not necessarily or not more focused on price driven as well. So solicitations involves obtaining information, which is either bids or proposal. I made mention that bids looks at more of price driven, and then proposal looks more of the technical or the non-financial driven factors. And so we're looking at obtaining information from prospective sellers and how project needs to be met. So at this stage, the organization must thoroughly evaluate prospective sellers or buyers based on one, the available information, two, the experience or expert advice. So procurement documents may be sent to some or all of the prospective sellers. And it is very important to get your information right. It's very important to consult experts, especially because you want to avoid going in for wrong, should I say, items or things or inputs which you may not need, or may just like you may just incur so much getting, but may not be so profitable to you. And so sometimes to reduce that risk, you may need the expert advice to really help you choose the right kind of input for your project, for you to be cost effective as well. So mostly after the bidding conference, where bidders come together and they all bring in their bids, the prospective sellers provide their prepared proposals that describe their ability and willingness to provide the requested products to the organization. So typically, most proposals will let you know, yes, this is what you've seen, or this is a problem, this is how they think they can solve it, or how they can meet you in solving it, and they would have their terms of reference and all those things in there as well. So they are prepared in accordance with the requirements of the required procurement document, which is provided by the firm. Then once we've done the bid conference, we've gotten the bids and we've gotten our proposals, then we need to do the source selection. Are we doing single sourcing? Are we doing multi-sourcing? This is where we look at those issues in there. So at the source selection, we're looking at the use of a standard criteria to evaluate all the bids or proposals received from the various suppliers. Proposals are often separated from technical approach and commercial price selection, with each evaluated separately. You can't evaluate monetary things the same way you evaluate non-monetary things. Yes, when it comes to technical or the technical approach, which is more of the standard proposals, how you evaluate them are different from the price driven, which is the bids or the commercial ones as well. And so it's wrong if you just do should I say, yes, sometimes people, you don't even know the standard they've set. Some of the standards are just in their minds, which is a bit biased or myopic. But then you should have the standard criteria in when it comes to even your selection of your sources. And multiple sources may be required for critical products. There are some products which are very, very critical, and you need to get more than one sources, a lot of sources, to be able to see which is giving you the best offer as well. And after the evaluation, proposals are scored and ranked, and then the highest ranked proposal is selected and the parties negotiate to sign a contract. If you don't have a set standard, you'll be biased. You just end up picking someone who is related to you, a friend of yours who you know you're going to get like help the person out or something. But if there's a standard and you are fair, you realize that you'll be able to pick the best out of what you have at your disposal in there as well. Then once we are done, then we need to have some contracts in there. And so at this stage, we ensure that the supplier's performance meets the contractual requirements. Contract administration includes application of the appropriate project management processes to a contractual relationship, and then integrates the output of these processes to the overall management of the business. Important issues such as how the project is going to be executed, the performance reporting, quality control, change control, payment systems are all considered in this stage. So obviously, because it's a legal something and it's going to be binding for you, the project and then the various should I say suppliers, or yes, the people we're going to work with who are providing us this input, we need to look at how we're going to even work with it when it comes to the execution, when it comes to performance reporting, quality issues, change, even when it comes to the money. How are we going to pay you? Are we going to pay you once or 6 months, or even after you've installed the thing or you've brought the thing and there's problems? Would we still have to pay you, or you just come and do it as part of your package for it? All these issues are looked at the contract side. And then when you're and we need to what? Close out our contract. So procurements are closed when the contract is completed or when it is terminated before the work is completed due to some specific reasons. Yes, when the contract comes to an end, obviously, then the contract is over. And sometimes it may be terminated or halted, yes, even before the project's due date of completion comes. And some reasons can cause it. We made mention of some when we were looking at project delays and then project termination as well. So project procurement close out normally involves checking to see if all the work is done correctly and satisfactory, and the final settlement, claims and invoices issued. It also involves making final payments and completing cost records. This is very, very important. Some projects we work on, at the end of the day, yes, we've done payments, but then we've not recorded those payments. These are things you need to be very careful of, and it's not the best thing to do. If you're giving someone some commission or tips or something in Ghana, sometimes that is how it happens, but then there should be records to all these dealings as well. And then after everything, the final report is prepared to include all the lessons learned from everyone, including suppliers, and documented for the project. This part is very, very, very important. And the unfortunate thing is usually we don't do it too well, and so when the project has to continue or someone has to take over the project, it becomes hard to deal with these people. But then it is good to give a very honest appraisal of your suppliers. If the person, yes, maybe the quality of their goods and services was good, but their service was bad, or these people were pressured, they are the type who, if their money is not gone through, they are on your neck and all those ones. You need to let them know, so that next time you are going into contract and you are considering such a supplier, you know that this supplier will give you good quality input. By the end of the day, they'll give you good quality pressure for their money. And so if your money is not ready, don't go for them to give you a headache. So you need to note all of these things down. But if you are being diplomatic or you don't do it well, you end up having an appraisal, but then you won't be able to come back to it to use it for what? Future decision making. And so it is very key that when you are done, you're able to do a report on the various people you've worked with, especially your suppliers, how they were, and all the lessons you've learned when it comes to what dealing with them or working with them. This is very, very, very key in there as well. So to sum up this session, we actually explained project funding. We looked at the major, we looked at project procurement planning and the issues that goes into project procurement planning as well. Thank you very much.